What's going on, guys? Matt here. So today we are looking at my first Mora knife that I've reviewed. Today we are looking at the Mora Eldris. Now this is kind of a unique Mora. It's not your classic Mora, though it does contain a lot of the same elements found in a Mora knife. So we will kind of speak to those elements, but this is the Mora Eldris, a small stubby little knife that my friend Matt, shout out to Matt, got me for my birthday this past year. So thank you for that. And we're going to look at this knife. It's a really interesting, very unique knife. And it is my first Mora review, as I said. So, we're going to talk about Moras, and I want to hear in the comments what you guys think of Moras, what your overall experience has been with them, because I don't have a ton of experience aside from with this model, and aside from holding a couple in some knife shops. So you guys will have to let me know what you think of Moras in general. But first, let's do some size comparisons. Then we're going to do specs. Then we'll talk about what I like, what I dislike, and something unique. Okay, so we're going to compare it to a couple of other fixed blades. So let's get that logo out right there. Now, this is a really unique one. My buddy Ben Dyson, I've done shout outs on the channel. Thanks so much, Ben. He actually gave me this knife. This is the Buck 194-1. Really pretty knife. As you can see, it's got like a mirror polish on it. You can see my finger. Look at that. Beautiful mirror polish. Gorgeous wood handle. I don't know what kind of wood that is. It's probably like a stabilized wood like they used in their Buck 110. But yeah, beautiful blade on this. This is about a 3.5-inch blade right here. Might be about 4. This is 154 cm. Really pretty knife. Let me know if you guys want a review on this one. I'll definitely do one. Just if there's a lot of outcry for it, then I'll do it sooner rather than later. So yeah, so that's compared to that. Now let's do one in comparison to a blade that you guys probably have more familiarity with. And now that I look at it, I'm getting some rust on this guy. Look at this. This is the Minimalist, CRKT Minimalist in D2. So kind of similar overall blade length. Look at that. I'm getting some rust on that D2, which will happen. It's D2. It's not a stainless steel. It's a tool steel. It's just surface rust. You wipe it off. Who cares? It's like 25 bucks. No worries at all, right? So these I kind of classify as similar knives. These are kind of neck knives, small knives you can carry around. They're super lightweight, but they are fixed blades, so they have a little bit more capability than your standard, folding knife. So very similar in size. Okay, let's move on to the specs. So the Mora Eldris, what we're looking at is a 2.2-inch blade, very small blade. 5.6 inches overall. This handle is actually quite nice. It's full size. So that's something that you don't really get on the CRKT Minimalist. Your pinky's kind of hanging out over here. And I would wager that if my hand can fully fit on this knife, most people's hands can. I don't have very long hands, but I have very thick hands. So there's a lot of width to them. So anyway, yeah. Full size handle on that. That would make that 3.4 inches. So yeah, full size handle. It is 0.08 inches thick at the blade. So thin, thin. A lot of these smaller fixed blades have pretty thin stock. Makes them nice slicers usually. 2.8 ounces. Now that's what was listed. I don't know if that's with the sheath or not. If I had to guess, I would say probably not. That's about what this knife probably weighs, but I could be wrong on that. Let me know in the comments if you know. This is 12C27N, as just about all Moras are. Not all, but most of them. And this is made in Sweden. And it is stainless, obviously. That's what 12C27N is. If you want to pick this up, this specific version that came with the sheath and a few other accessories, a lanyard and a ferro rod, this is about 30 bucks. The standard Eldris without that stuff, I think, is 20, which is about in line with most Moras. Most Moras are about 20 bucks, some even cheaper. So yeah, those are the specs. Let's move on to what I like. So I like that even though this is a small knife, the handle is very comfortable, guys. I mean, so most Moras, it is kind of similar to what we have on the Gerber Strong Arm. We don't have it on table, but it's plastic overmolded. And then you have over that plastic, you have rubber. And so this part is plastic and this part is rubber. So, I mean, you really just get a great grip. And for a small knife, this is very comfortable. I could carve with this all day long, no problem, no hot spots whatsoever. So, even in compared to something like this obviously more low profile, more slim, easier to carry around, but it just doesn't have the comfort that this has. So even though this is a small knife, very, very comfortable in hand. I really appreciate that about this knife. Another thing I really like is the sheath. Now, I've had my hands on other Moras and other sheaths, and they're very similar. It's very similar to that. It's simple design. It is a plastic kind of pouch, I guess you could say, style sheath, because you can put it in either way. It kind of snaps in. Yeah, you can see those rivets right there, and it snaps into that area right there. You can put it in either way, no problem. Holds it very well. You could probably carry that upside down, and if not, no worries. You got a snap on this model anyway. So I think that for 20 bucks, 30 bucks, this sheath is very simple, but it's very utilitarian, and that's kind of what Moras are, right? We'll talk about that in something unique, but they're very utilitarian, and this knife is very utilitarian, and that's what I want to talk about next. This is a very adequate knife for bushcrafting, for carving, for outdoors use, and that's what Mora knives are. They are no flares outdoors use knives. They have those Scandi grinds, and this is kind of a compound Scandi, I guess you would call that. Let me know in comments what you would call that, because you have a traditional Scandi right here, which is just a single bevel going down to that edge, and I guess that's I don't know what we would call the secondary grind, because you can see there's two bevels right there, so that's not a traditional Scandi. Anyway, very utilitarian. This is just a no frills. Nothing special to it. There's nothing pretty about this, right? It doesn't have that stuff that makes you feel good, the fuzz, right, when you pick it up. But when you're carving with this thing, it carves beautifully. It makes feather sticks beautifully, slices great, could be a great food prep knife, great for carving, things like that. So I really appreciate that about this knife, and about, from what I know, the other Moras as well. Very utilitarian. You're not paying much, so you're not getting a pretty knife, but you are getting a very, very useful knife, and I really like that about this knife. Another thing I like is the blade grind. As I said, I don't know what I would call this specifically. Whatever it is, the Scandi grinds, the Scandi grind particularly part just carves beautifully. I mean, it's just so smooth, no issues whatsoever. And even this part up here, very, very smooth as well. So I like this grind, even though it's kind of strange. It looks a little funky. I still enjoy it. Okay. Last thing I like is it's cheap, guys. I mean, 20 bucks. Some Moras are 15 bucks, They're not super thick. They're not, again, there's nothing special about them. Even this, this has micarta handles. It's got D2 steel. This is produced in China. This is produced in Sweden. So there's a little bit more fit and finish, a little bit more quality going into these, even though they are very inexpensive. So I like how inexpensive they are. I think that's great. Mora is putting out knives that are super useful, super utilitarian for great prices, right? So I think that is awesome. Okay, let's talk about what I don't like. This is about the same price as the other Mora knives. And yes, it is a little bit more compact, a little bit easily carryable, right? It's not that much more carryable. Think about a knife with a handle about the size, and then, a couple inches more on there. It's not going to be that much more cumbersome to have a 4-inch blade. And I think I'd probably prefer a Mora with a full-size blade, just because the things that it could handle would be there'd be a lot more that it could take. Let's look at it and compare this Buck 194. This can handle a lot more. This could do light batoning. It can do, just a lot more stuff around the campfire because it has that longer blade. So I think I'd prefer a Mora with a little bit of a longer knife. And so I don't love how short the blade is, even though it is very utilitarian, very carryable. I think, it's not that much more cumbersome to have a blade, 1.5 inches, 2 inches longer. So that's the only thing I don't really like. And, some might say, well, that's not a function of the design. There's nothing wrong with the knife itself. And that is true. But I am going to say that it's something I don't like because I'm just not sure I understand the philosophy behind this knife, right? This is a lot more slim, a lot more compact, more of a neck knife. This would be hard to carry as a neck knife. The rubber would get kind of caught on things. So yeah, anyway, that's the one thing I don't like. Overall, would I recommend it? Absolutely. I think I'd recommend just about any Mora, especially in those cheaper budget price lines. 12C, 27N is not the most amazing steel, but it's perfectly adequate. Will hold an edge just fine. Not going to rust on you very easily because it's a highly stainless steel. So I think for what you're getting, the materials, they offer great value. In what's unique, well, I didn't do what's unique, so let's do that right now. What's unique is that you are getting a very utilitarian knife for a great price. And so that goes into my recommendation. I absolutely recommend it because you're getting a crazy utilitarian knife for a very inexpensive price, and it's going to be plenty durable for most of the things that you could want it for. So that's what's unique, and I do recommend it. Guys, thanks so much for watching my Mora knife review, the Mora Eldris. Let me know if you want to see Mora knives, Mora knives on the table. I'd be happy to get some more and review them for you guys. Until next time, have a good one. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Peace.